All right, thank you all very much for coming as we can continue our member motivation series here at the Chamber of Commerce. I'm Todd Lowery, and I am the Government and Public Affairs Manager for the Chamber. To give you a little insight as to what I do, I am responsible as being the staff liaison for our Government Affairs Committee, our Government Affairs efforts, and also our Political Action Committee as well. So, along with my responsibilities, I'm in constant contact with our local, state, and federal legislators. I also attend city council meetings on a regular basis, county board meetings, which often are in the evening, but that often is the best way to find out what's going on in our, especially our municipal government as well. So those are some of my responsibilities. Along with our goals, we advocate for pro-business legislation, regulation, and initiatives for the benefit of our members in the McLean County business community. Basically giving our members and the business community in McLean County a voice as to issues that are important to them. They say the old saying, all politics is local, but in our case we focus on not only just the local but the state and federal as well. How do we come up with what we want to do as a chamber? What do we want to focus on for our legislative agenda? Every year, the Government Affairs Committee, through me as the staff liaison, submits what we call a legislative agenda. And this legislative agenda is 8 different areas of focus. Everything from taxes and fees, going through to environment. And the Government Affairs Committee, which is about 20 members, meets every month. We meet the first Wednesday, 7 a.m. Of every month. And what we do every year around January is they will approve the legislative agenda that we submit to them, make changes, make adjustments. A lot of times those adjustments will be based on what's going on currently with legislation. It's a living, breathing document. If something changes along the course of the year, we will make changes to that document and reconstitute our focus on what we're going to be working on. Once the Government Affairs Committee approves that legislative agenda, that is not an approval so much as a recommendation to our Board of Directors. And our Board of Directors has final approval on what our legislative agenda for 2016 will be. As far as what our government affairs is, we basically, like I said, a 20-member staff, 20 members, and we vary from those in healthcare to education, government officials, the whole gamut of what encompasses our chamber. So we have equal representation, including education and so forth. And basically, that organization and committee is very important as to what we do as far as our government affairs. Now, along with those monthly meetings, we are trying to take a more proactive stance. We do have regular speakers come in. For example, that not just elected officials, but those are decision makers. For example, we had the Ecology Action Center come on in. The director met with us to give us the latest on the 2015 Solid Waste Management Plan. Those are very important. It helps give our committee a better insight as to what's going on and what we're going to be doing and focusing on. But it also gives the opportunity, just to meet those people that are the decision makers and to give input and answer questions that you might not be able to get, which they then, when they go out in the community, can share those questions and those answers to the members of our business community as well. So for this year, one of our goals for the Government Affairs Committee was to be a little bit more proactive in going down to places like Springfield, meeting with our legislators, starting to have a little bit more outreach. A lot of times we've had them come to us. We want to try and make it a little more proactive this year moving forward and go to them. So that's one of the goals of the Government Affairs Committee that we're working on. But it's a very rewarding experience to see a document like the legislative agenda not only be recommended and approved by the board, but then to see that document go into action. And that is a blueprint for us moving forward in the year. And like I said, that's a living, breathing document. If we need to change some things, if we need to make some adaptations to it or change the focus, we can go ahead and do that. Another thing that we do with the Chamber is our Political Action Committee. Now the PAC, and this is important to remember, the PAC is a separate entity from the McLean County Chamber of Commerce. The chamber does not endorse candidates. That's very important to remember. Sometimes people get a little confused when they hear the McLean County Chamber of Commerce Political Action Committee. The PAC is separate. The chamber itself does not endorse candidates. Now, as far as the PAC goes, who do we endorse? Our PAC focuses on state and local candidates. So from city councils, county board, through state representatives to state senators, that is who we endorse. Now you may say, well, how do we go about this process? And that process varies. Okay, for our city council, what we'll do is we have questionnaires we send out to all the candidates. We then process those questions. We then invite the candidates in, and so they can expand upon those questions that we've asked them, and then we can make a decision on who we would like to endorse. We do not have to endorse anyone. What are the main merits of how we endorse a candidate? Not whether you're any party affiliation. We are a bipartisan committee. What's important is, are your views representing the business community of McLean County? And a lot of people will say, like, well, do you endorse, other state representatives or state senators from around the state? And the answer to that is absolutely. They're all in the same body. So in the last election cycle for the state, we did a statewide. We endorsed for state treasurer. We also endorsed for representatives, both Republican and Democrat. There's the old thing, oh, you're a Chamber of Commerce, you're only going to endorse Republicans. That's not the case. In fact, we had several Democrats this year that we endorsed. The reason is because they were, once again, in line with our philosophy on representing the interests of business. So that was very important. The other way that we endorse candidates, for example, especially on the state level, if someone's on the northern side of the state, it's going to be hard to get them down here. So we have to do our own research and so forth, investigate their voting records and so forth, take a look at it, and we can also make an evaluation that way. Another thing that we can do, we can either give a monetary donation directly to the campaign, or in the case, what we did with our city council races, or town council if you're normal, is the purchasing of advertising, stating the McLean County Chamber of Commerce endorses these candidates, and those candidates are listed. And that's how we've done the city council and town council races in the past. We can always have the option of changing that in the future. We do have to report to the State Board of Elections, as we are a registered organization. But the PAC committee itself consists of 7 members, and we are currently working on switching out some members. We're going into that cycle now to a staggered representation of every 2 years, with the option of an additional year by the chairman. And I also, like I said, serve as the staff liaison to that group. So, once again, PAC, separate from the chamber. Chamber does not, I always like to try and make sure everyone understands that, does not endorse candidates. So you have the Government Affairs Committee, you have the PAC Committee, and then you also have another organization which we're a part of, which is called CIRCLE, which is the Central Illinois Regional Chamber Legislative Effort. CIRCLE is much easier to say. It's 17 chambers from across Central Illinois. Started a number of years ago. I want to say back in 2009. By the way, I think our PAC was started in 2009. I wanted to mention that as well. And basically, we focus on state issues for CIRCLE. Everything from minimum wage to workers' compensation, which is going to be our 2 issues when we go down to Springfield. I'll talk about that a little bit here in just a second. We have also covered things such as regulation, like I said, workers' comp legislation, possible tax increase that was going to go on, the extension of the tax increase that was considered a couple of years ago. We took an active role in that. And what we encompass is every year it's highlighted by our Springfield Lobby Day. And we will go down to Springfield. We will do testimony on those issues that we select in front of our state legislators and let them know how the business community feels. And it's a nice pool of people. We average anywhere between 50 or 60 representatives from the 17 chambers. And it gives us a good opportunity to have a voice in Springfield, especially during the spring session when so much is going to be going on. Last year we were very happy. I chaired it last year. I was chairman. and we had some great guests. We had Jim Schultz of the Department of Commerce and Economic Development. We also had Opportunity, I should say. We also started off Lieutenant Governor to start off a conference, and we ended with Governor Rauner as well. So we had a nice, plus our legislators that participated during testimony. So it's always a nice event. This year we're going to focus a little bit more on the agencies, of course, with the state budget crisis. We're looking at a situation where a lot of, especially human services and education, are being hurt by that. And it's going to be a really special focus this year, especially with everything going on, continuing budget crisis. So we wanted to reach out to not just legislators, but agencies this year as well. Our participation in Circle, my predecessor, Ryan Whitehouse, was very instrumental in helping to establish that and get that going as well. We've been very happy to keep Circle going and to keep it something that, you know, a lot of legislators and a lot of those that are down in Springfield recognize our name, recognize what we do, and that better helps us to tie in and represent our members. As we say, the power is in the numbers. So Circle, once again, another important aspect that we have as a tool here at the Chamber for our advocacy efforts. You know, the main question I hear is, you know, how can I get involved? What can I do? And the answer to that is quite simple. One, you can always reach out to me here at the Chamber. As we say, give the phone number, 829-1188, or just Todd at McLeanCoChamber.org. I'm always open to listening to what your comments are, what you're thinking, getting your input, especially if it's a piece of legislation or an issue that is affecting your business. Although I like to be very schooled in what I do, I'm never going to know as much as the person that's actually being affected by a pending piece of legislation or a regulation or a rulemaking process. And that's why our Chamber membership is so important, for you to give me feedback and to let me know what your thoughts are, because you are going to know things that I would not have the opportunity as you, a business owner or a agency or a service person, is going to know. And that's important for me to know. So I encourage you to reach out that way. There's also opportunities, and there's a process for this, but there's opportunities to be on our Government Affairs Committee. Once again, as I said earlier in the presentation, we like to try and have a wide array of those across industries, across community organizations, to give us a good, diverse voice as to what needs to be the focus for our legislative update, so for our legislative efforts. So once again, if you're interested in that, like I said, please reach out to me and let me know. Also, our Political Action Committee is starting to once again rotate over. There are some opportunities there as well. So you know, the main thing is in advocacy is just to be active, is what it is. And that's the main focus. And that's what we try and do at the Chamber. We have a great history of doing that, and we want to continue to do that as well. Also, if you haven't signed up already, every Friday I send out an email, the Government Affairs Update. It goes out to about 500 people. If you haven't been receiving it, it's because it's voluntary. We don't want to keep filling your inboxes unsolicited. So if you are interested in getting our Government Affairs Update, what that is, I try and condense down the week's news, focusing on local, which is your county board, your councils, through the state level and all the way up to the federal level. Just a brief page and a half synopsis that'll bring you up to speed at the end of the week and give you the information you need to know moving forward. I also put in links to the upcoming agendas for that following Monday. Also, if we have a county board meeting, a county board meets on Tuesdays, any kind of agenda, I'll give you just a brief preview, and then you can click on it and we'll take you right to the site, and you can see if there's something in there that might interest you. And that's another thing that we encourage too. All the city council meetings and town council meetings, county board, are open to the public. Many of them have public comment periods, which if you're having a problem or having a concern, you have that ability to go out and speak and address the councils directly. So once again, that's another avenue that you have. I'd also like to point out too, if for some reason you can't make it to a city council meeting, I do know that Normal and Bloomington now do that online. So if the weather's bad or you've got a sick kid at home and you want to see what's actually happening in real time, you can always go to their websites. City of Bloomington, on their agenda page, and also the town of Normal also has that as well. So you have a lot of options if you want to keep up what's going on in the council without having to physically being there. Once again, as they say, 90% of life is showing up, and if you really want to make an impact, it's always good to go to the meetings, but we understand there are limitations that you have when dealing with that. So, once again, if you want to get on that government affairs mailing list for my Friday reports, once again, just reach me at todd@mcleancochamber.org, and we can get you ready to go with that as well. Other opportunities, we have our Washington, D.C. fly-in, June 13th through the 17th. We're working closely with the Peoria Chamber on that, and then we're going to have our own day. I know that we've had great success. I've gone out there for the last 2 years that I've been the manager here, and Washington, D.C. never gets old. It's you never get tired of seeing the sights, and the dome has been under construction now for about 1.5 years. We're hoping to go back this year to see some of the scaffolding come down, but it's always a city that impresses, and more importantly, it's an opportunity for us to focus and represent Chamber and our businesses. We met with 3 congressmen last year, both of our U.S. senators, and we were also able to meet with the U.S. Chamber of Commerce and some of their advocacy efforts as well as far as business goes. Last year we did tie it in with their Small Business Summit. Colin Powell was a speaker. So it's a very unique opportunity, and Washington, D.C. is quite the place as far as the sights and sounds of Washington. So we'll be sending that out here in just the next couple of, about the next week or so. Also, we've started doing advocacy trips to Springfield for the spring session and the veto session, which is going to be coming up, of course, in the fall. And we like to make that intimate groups, about 2 to 3 people along with myself, and gives us the opportunity to meet with our legislators, and also get down to Springfield, and just gives you a better grasp of what's going on at our state capitol. And also, we just had Congressman Hood in a couple of weeks ago. We have legislator visits to our chamber, coffee roundtables. Take about an hour, so it doesn't take a lot of time. But gives you a unique opportunity to get in a room about this size with your congressman. We had Senator Kirk in late last year as well, and we do that throughout the year, so those are some opportunities that you can have as well. And then finally, I talked about the opportunities to serve on our Government Affairs Committee and also our Political Action Committees as well. So basically, that's a quick rundown of what I do, what our government affairs and public affairs programs do here at the Chamber, and how we're trying to serve our members to the best of our ability, and how, once again, we want to stress that you reach out to us as well so we can better serve you as members. So with that, I'll answer any questions that you have.
Mr. Lowery, how is the PAC funded?
The PAC is funded by voluntary, I'm glad you asked that, by voluntary donations from our members. We also have a PAC fundraiser, which we do in the fall. Last year we had Illinois Chamber of Commerce President Todd Lowery, and we were able to raise a significant amount of funds for that. So thank you for the question. That was on my list. And but we also will be sending out another thing this year. Generally we do that solicitation towards the beginning of the year, but for new members and so forth that may not be aware of the Political Action Committee, we want to make sure that they know about it, so we're going to be sending out an additional notification on that as well. But thank you very much for the question.
Do you always have the same 8 focus areas on the legislative agenda?
That's a good question, because up until before last year, we had 7. And then we felt one of the things we added was the environment, because that's becoming more and more relevant, and lots of things going on. And not just at the national, international stage, but right here in McLean County, you know, with the solid waste plan and so forth. So that is something that we added. Once again, it's a living, breathing document that we can make changes to and adjustments, and our Government Affairs Committee is very good about doing that, and also working with the Board of Directors as well. And you know, generally something like adding another issue would be something we do at the beginning of the year, but that doesn't mean we have to. Yeah, as far as keeping it adapted and so forth, that's one of the things that we do. Further questions? Thank you very much. Hope you enjoyed it.